Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I am joined by Penn State women's hockey player Lyndie Lobdell. Lyndie is a Chicago Mission legend, and she had 14 points this past year as being a first time being a sophomore. So welcome back to the podcast, Lyndie, and thank you so much for coming on again. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Now, how's everything going for yourself? Obviously, the school year ended. So what have you been up to since the season ended, and what are some of your off-season plans, I guess?
So I actually just got home yesterday, and I was on vacation before that, and it was much needed. I just needed to relax, get a break from school and everything. And I actually started 2 classes, so not super happy about that, but I have to get it done. And I'm getting involved with mission and just seeing the girls, doing some skills with them and my dad. And I have a same plan as I usually have, just training, lots and lots of training.
Nice. Where'd you go on vacation?
Cabo.
Nice. I have no clue. I've heard of it before, but I actually don't know, is it in Europe or is it in the
It's in
Caribbean?
Mexico.
Oh, nice. Nice. What'd you
Yeah.
do down there?
We stayed at a resort. It was me and some of my other teammates. And it was really awesome. I've never been to Mexico before, so I haven't experienced anything like that. And it was really nice.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you had a good time there. Is it hard if you don't understand Spanish just because that's the main language in Mexico?
It can be, but most of my friends have studied Spanish. I just did, so we did okay.
That's good. I just took a Spanish class this past semester, and it was honestly one of the toughest classes I've ever taken just because I've never taken a language before. So, but luckily I passed it and I'm all set for my junior year, so that should be fun.
Yeah, I just finished my last class that I needed to take, so for Spanish at least.
That's good to hear. And obviously taking 2 classes this summer is a little bit easier just because you don't have I guess actual games to worry about during a regular college season. Doing those summer classes, is that why you do them? Because I feel like most hockey players do a few each year.
Yeah, I like to just throw a couple classes in the summer just because it's easier to handle with it being online and my schedule being a little more open. Once I get into working and everything, it'll get a little bit more difficult, but I only have 2 classes just because I'm, trying to get those ones out of the way, but it's okay. I did it my summer going into freshman year too, and it was just good to get like the gen ed requirements that you need out of the way.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. And is this going to be your last 2 gen ed classes, I assume?
One of them is a gen ed and one of them is what I need to take to get into my major, which is finance. So I guess you could say it's gen ed, but the other ones were all really basic, speaking classes,
Yeah.
Grammar and stuff like that.
And obviously hockey-wise, what are some things you're trying to work on for the off season? Is it just the usual, or is there anything specific you're going to try to focus on this summer?
I'm definitely wanted to focus on just fundamental stuff. Usually when I come back, I work with certain coaches that really, really harp on that stuff, which I always think helps me and it sharpens me up a lot. Because at certain points, we have our practices and then I have time to do my own things, but I just need to get back to those fundamental things because I'm a huge believer in all of that helping everything.
And obviously, like you said, you're going to be working with the mission this summer. Do you think that helps your game at all, doing coaching side of things, just because you kind of get a different perspective on the game, seeing how others play?
Yeah, definitely. So my dad works with the younger girls, the U12s, and I think just again going through those things with them and seeing that allowing them to see that I still make mistakes with what they do, and it's a building process. I think it's really cool to learn from and see that different perspective. And then from the older girls, just seeing different styles of play, because I remember being at Michigan, it's just completely different than playing in college. And I just continue to realize that, but it just helps you learn and helps you figure out what girls need to adjust to be prepared for the next level.
That's awesome. Have you had the chance to meet the team yet? Any future college hockey stars, or too young to find out for that?
Girls coming into Penn State.
No, for the mission team that you're coaching.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know them too well because I've been so back and forth, obviously, but my dad would know that. I know like a few younger girls, but I'm not really sure what they're up to right now because I haven't been home in so long. So,
Yeah, it must be nice to be back home, especially after a long college year. So I'm glad things are going well on that end. But I kind of want to transition a little bit and talk a little bit about this past season. So you finished your sophomore year in college hockey. So how would you evaluate your team's performance this past year when you reflect on it now?
um, it was up and down. We had really amazing moments. Like I always like to talk about the Duluth game because I feel like we do our best when we play great competition. I think that's when we peak. And I thought we did so great that game. It was like so fun to be a part of and the tournament and everything. But then like I've talked to you about this before, like the mental side of things, sometimes we lack, but we've been making huge strides to correct the mistakes that we made. Um, and just get on the little things because the details matter.
Yeah. And you improved a lot this past year as well compared to your freshman year. Like, what was like the biggest improvement you made to your game throughout your sophomore year compared to your freshman season?
I'd have to say getting back in touch with my more offensive side of my play because I was worried about that coming in my freshman year because I know like it's not going to be the same as youth hockey, but then I it was like an awkward adjustment, and then this year I kind of fell into it more and like found my confidence again and really got back into that style. I think that was like a huge thing for me.
And I know we've talked about this before, but one thing you were telling me was like how you wanted to improve your skating abilities, and I felt like I saw that this year, especially like on the blue line, trying to keep pucks in the offensive zone. Is that something that you've noticed as well? Just because that's something I noticed, and I thought that was kind of a neat little thing that I thought was pretty cool because I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, we worked on that a lot. We do a lot of these skills specifically, and um, my work on the blue line, it's something that you have to like continue to like tweak until you can be totally comfortable. But yeah, I definitely felt better in that as I went on.
Yeah, and I was watching one of the Penn State hype videos that they made, and there was like a video of you breaking someone's ankles against RIT. So I just want to give a shout out on that. I thought that was a really cool highlight. I'm not sure if that was like from your freshman year or not, but I thought that was really sick.
Yeah, it was from my freshman year, and that was the video they played before our games, our home games at least,
Hmm.
and it definitely hyped me up for every game.
When that happened, like what was going through your head? Because usually when that stuff happens, you're not really expecting it. So that must have been like trying to stay focused on the play and not kind of just think about what just happened.
Yeah, no, that was I think I actually started laughing like the moment it happened because I was like ready to do it and then she like ate it and I was just like, oh damn. Like that sucks for her, but that was really sick of me, so
Yeah,
it was
that's
pretty
pretty cool that you
exciting.
laughed. That shows the confidence. I'm assuming your teammates were doing the same thing too.
Yeah, it was a funny reaction. And the video like every time like just the my teammates just they're funny about it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good way to hype you up, though, for sure. That definitely would hype me up as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I kind of want to talk a little bit about the CHA playoffs, and then I kind of want to start with like the low point of the season, and then talk about some of the high points that happened this year. So, obviously, your team lost to Mercyhurst in the CHA playoffs this year. So, from your perspective, what did you take away from that game, and how is your team going to use that game for next season to do better in the postseason? Because I feel like that's like the one goal that your team had this past year was to do well in the CHA playoffs.
Yeah. So I mean we haven't yet. We haven't even unfortunately made it to the final yet. And that's like throughout the year, I'd like to say like we can own our league, but when it came to that game, I think what I took away from it is we played well. We had our hearts in it, but I think that the confidence piece just needs to be there. Like you have no idea at any point. Like we could be up 5-0 and then something can happen and we just get bombarded with goals and like it can go either way at any point. We just have to remember that and keep that in mind that the game's not over till it's over.
And how did this playoff loss compare to the one against Syracuse your freshman year? Because it felt different, at least from my perspective, when watching both those games.
Um, I mean, I personally have this like weird rivalry with Syracuse. I mean, our whole team does, but like I just have something against them like very deep inside of me because of last year. Um, but I think what felt the most different was like the whole year, because I feel like last year was so messed up that we didn't get to see all the competition, but then we did this year and it made us better. And then it was just it was more disappointing to see like that we grew, but then ended up in the same spot as last year, just against a different team and against the team that we had been beating like pretty much all year. And it kind of just shows you like it can go either way. You can't go into it cocky. So
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think the experience factor will help out for next year? Because that's the one difference I thought Mercyhurst had was they had a lot of experienced players on that roster. It feels like next year you're going into your junior year, you're having kind of a large senior class. Do you think that experience factor will be beneficial for your team next year, just because you know what it takes to win some of those CHA playoff games after losing the past 2 years?
yeah, I think so. Obviously, we've had a heavily young team because my class is pretty big. Um, so I think like last year going through that, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, you know what, this is giving us like a feel for this. We're gonna remember this loss, and we know what it takes to win. We just haven't executed. And then this year, I think it's just set like this like burning passion to win for next year because nobody wants to do that twice in a row, and that's what we did. And it's okay because like that happens. It's like that's hockey. But I think with my class having so much experience, the girls under us learning so much, and then all the girls ahead of us, like I think we're just going like full speed ahead, like ready to go for next year, and the experience level is way higher. So I'm excited about that.
That's awesome. And obviously the tournament's expanded. We didn't get the chance to talk about that last time because it didn't happen, but I just want to get your thoughts on that because I thought that was something that's going to benefit your team, especially just because I feel like the CHA has trouble getting more than just one team besides the championship winner in the tournament.
Yeah, that has been an issue. Hopefully this helps. I could see it going either way, helping or hurting. But I think just like to secure, if for some reason we don't win, but I mean, our whole ideal is to like control the controllables. So not leave it up to a bid, just like win playoffs so we can get that spot. Um, but I mean, it's exciting for sure. I just think like the CHA deserves a better name within the NCAA in general. So
Now, another, I do want to ask you because I know the Frozen Four was at Penn State this year. How cool was that experience for your team? I don't know if you got the chance to see it in person. I assume you did, but like, how cool was that for yourself getting the chance to watch the Frozen Four?
yeah, it was really amazing to see that in person and not just on TV. Like everything that they did to the rink and so quickly, and it was also a little annoying because like it's our rink, it's our barn, but it was really really cool to see it done like for women's hockey and all the things that they did to the rink, just like even just for the teams up top, like the little photo features and interviews and whatnot. It was really awesome.
Yeah, I had the chance to go to the men's Frozen Four this year, and one thing that they did that I thought was cool was they had like all the jerseys of the D1 men's college hockey teams. Did they do that for the women's side as well?
They did, yeah. It was really cool to see that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So definitely, I thought for me personally, like just from watching it, obviously I wasn't there, but I thought it looked like better on TV than it did last year. So that was like the one cool thing. I think your rink looks super nice on TV. So I'm assuming it translates well in person as well.
Oh yeah, it's incredible to see in person. Definitely something you have to do.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, everyone has told me like that's like one of the best rinks in college hockey. People who aren't even on Penn State have told me that too. So it's definitely something I need to try out sometime. But it's a bit of a drive. That's the only tough part about it. So I have to find a way to
Yeah,
make it work with my schedule.
it's pretty difficult to get to state college.
Yeah, but once you're there though, it seems like a fun time.
Worth
So
it.
now, how did that motivate your team to get back to the Frozen Four? Because like I remember you telling me you're like we don't want to see someone else celebrate on our home ice. So I'm assuming that must have fueled the fire in for next year, next season.
Yeah, definitely fueled the fire. Just seeing them on our ice and using all of our like facilities and everything. It's just like that was our motto from the beginning: protect our ice, and didn't fulfill that. But seeing that, it just kind of yeah, it just lit the fire for everyone just to go harder and harder.
Well, the Frozen Four will be back in Penn State in 2026, so hopefully the team can remember that and get ready for that Frozen Four and protect the ice. Then that's the
Yeah,
one beauty thing. That's the one beautiful thing about the Frozen Four being at Penn State this year was it's going to be hosted again another year too. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
yeah, I'm hopeful for the team for sure.
Now, one thing we talked about last time was how excited you were for fans to come back to the rink. How did that experience go for yourself, having fans back in the rink compared to last year when there was none?
It was like a really, really, really cool thing to see. Um, in our first few games, in our first few home games, we have the roar zone, so everyone like behind the net, and they made this like giant, I guess like poster type of thing or tapestry, and it was when we played BC, and it said it was like an eagle in a cage, and it said something, and it was like the coolest thing I've ever seen. And then one of our games was the most attendance that we ever had, and it was actually the Hockey is for Everyone game that we have, and that was like an incredible experience. And we got to go on the ice with everyone after, and we didn't get to do that much last year, so that was like truly like unreal.
And I noticed that the rower zone has like signs for each of your players on your team. So what was your sign like? What did it say?
Me and Kiara actually shared a sign. It said the Golden Girls, and then it had us both in like our USA stuff.
That's
So
pretty
that was
good.
cool.
That's
Yeah.
a good sign. No, especially to get the chance to share with a teammate, I think that's even
Hmm.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also something that you got to experience last year that you didn't get to experience your freshman year was playing conference games or non-conference games. And we talked a little bit about it the last time we were on the podcast, like how excited you were for that opportunity to see what other conferences were like regarding their playing style. So what was that experience like for you, getting the chance to play teams like Boston College, St. Lawrence, then obviously Duluth in the DC game that you had? So just from your perspective, how cool was that to play those non-conference games?
It was intimidating, but it was so exciting. Like the best kind of intimidating that just like gets you so like riled up and ready to play and like see a different style. And it was a different style. Like I feel like the CHA is a little more dirty in a way, although we have like the worst refs, but you know, whatever about that. But it was cool to see like playing Duluth and Ohio State in our Thanksgiving tournament. That was really, really cool because I always see them play, and I always grew up seeing them play and being like, I can't wait to compete against these teams. And finally being able to do that was it was just a really, really cool experience.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about the playing style difference between other conferences in the CHA. And when you say like dirty, do you mean like physicality? Like is the CHA a little more physical than some of the other conferences that you played in? Because I know the WCHA has that reputation of how it's more of a kind of a grindy conference compared to some of the other ones.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's dirtier in a physicality way. Like everyone well, maybe I won't generalize everyone, but it's definitely more physical. And then I think something that stuck out to me most was like both CHA along with other leagues have like an incredible amount of speed because we have those like really gritty like grinder players, and I think that's something that other teams lack because they have like full lines of like hands and talent which can come in handy, but you need those grinders, and I think that's something that we have a lot of.
Yeah, and does that like style of play fit you better? Because I feel like you're more of a physical defender than some of the other players I've seen in your conference. I feel like that style of play will like benefit your game more. But I've also seen it, and this is why I think I've said this before on the podcast. But I think body checking should be allowed in women's hockey, just because I feel like players like yourself, you're kind of thinking about what the refereeing is going to be like. Because if some refs are strict about it, you're more likely to get a penalty versus other ones that are more loose about it. I feel like as a player personally, I wouldn't want to think about how a game's going to be refereed before heading into it because that could change the style of play and change my mindset on the game. So I was just curious from your perspective how you handled that because that's something I've noticed from your game as well.
Yeah, that's definitely something I have to like figure out for every CHA game at least. Like how the refs are going to be that game because some days they won't call a single thing and everyone's just going at it, and other times you could just bump into someone and it'll be a penalty. Like it really depends. The sensitivity of it goes both ways, but there's really no middle. So you kind of have to figure out if you're going to be like, for myself, I'm always very physical. I can't just expel that from my game. And that's not going to change if I get a penalty or not.
Hmm.
But it definitely helps when they just like stop calling penalties and they just let us play.
Yeah,
That's the way it should be, to be honest.
yeah, because I noticed like a lot of your penalties this year, that you were pretty disciplined for the most part, but most of the penalties were body checking penalties. So I feel like that has something to do with it.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not necessarily a tall person, but there's like smaller girls in our league too.
Hmm.
So at a certain point, you like can't do anything to help that. You could hit, if I were to hit someone that's like 6 feet tall compared to like a girl that's 5'5", I'm getting the penalty on the 5'5" girl because most likely she's going down.
Yeah.
So
Any big hits this year from you? Like, what was like the one that stood out to you the most, or just in general, not just from yourself, but from like one of your teammates?
there's nothing I can like remember very specifically. Um, I think there's just like little scuffles in my mind, like seeing Rachel Weiss get hit in the in our Mercyhurst game in the semifinal. That was a huge hit, and it was 100% should have. They weren't really calling much that game, but that was something that should have been called. It was dirty. It was from behind,
Hmm.
and I was just sitting there looking at the girl like fire in my eyes. But I knew if I went at her, I'd be screwed because the rest just decide to call over the wrong stuff. But that one is like burned in my head.
Yeah, because I feel like there was another game where Rachel got hit. It was against UNH, and that wasn't called as well. So I
Yeah,
don't know if you remember that one.
yeah. I actually remember myself in that game as well when I got that I got ejected
Hmm.
because it was just a bad it like it obviously wasn't intentional, but I hit like her hip and she was off balance and then she went flying and I immediately was like, uh-oh,
Hmm.
her head's right there, right in the board. So that was scary.
Yeah, but at least luckily your team got the weekend sweep, so it ended up working out.
Yeah. It was very annoying to sit in the stands though and watch that.
Yeah, how does that work? Like, do you like get changed and then just watch the game, or do you like stay in the locker room the entire time?
No, I got off.
Because that was like
Um,
early in the game when that happened. So
yeah, it was like end of the well, like mid to end of the first, and then got changed. Went to sit with some of my girls, and then I literally sat with my dad for the rest of the game, and
mhm.
then went in between, like went in the locker room in between periods.
What was like your favorite like road rink that you got to play in that you didn't get to play in last year? Was it the UNH one just because the Olympic size sheet, or was it Cornell just because everyone says that's a cool barn?
I was actually gonna, yeah, I was gonna say UNH just because it's a really cool rink. It kind of reminds me of RIT's rink a bit, just in like the style of it, but I did like the size. And then Cornell and Brown, I really like the old style type of barn. Like it's just like been there forever and there's a lot of history to it. So
And I do want to ask you about the DC trip because that was probably the most memorable non-conference games that you got to play. First of all, how cool was that experience being in Washington D.C. and what were some cool things you got to do in that city? What besides playing hockey, obviously.
yeah, so that was really fun. We as a team we went around, we did like a little tour. Um that was I went like a very long time ago because we had a DC tournament there when I was playing youth and I just remember it being like a really cool area to be able to walk around and see like a lot of history and being able to see that with a new group and girls from all over. I think it's really cool and girls from Canada who haven't seen it at all. And then we spent that Thanksgiving Day doing that and then we got to go to dinner and there were some families there and it was really nice.
That's awesome. What were like some of the monuments you got to see? Like anything that stood out, or did you see them all and enjoyed them all?
Um, I liked seeing the Lincoln Memorial the best. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. My favorite one is the Vietnam War Memorial, just because my grandfather
Mhm.
served in Vietnam, and I like the all how they have all the names of the people that died in that war. Just I thought that was a really moving monument for myself.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we went close up to that one. Um, I can't remember what the other thing is called, but they have like all the big stones of like each state.
I think that's the World War II one because there was like a waterfall
Yeah.
in there if my memory serves me correctly.
Excuse me. Yeah, it was awesome. Really cool experience to have with them.
Yeah, I haven't been back to DC. It's been like I was like 10 years old last time I went there, so it's been a long time. So I'm assuming security is a little more intense there than it was when I was there. Because I remember like it seems like the White House, like you can barely see it anymore because it's all barricaded.
Yeah, definitely. It's completely barricaded. There was a lot of people there though. I wasn't expecting that. But there
Probably
was a
because it was Thanksgiving weekend, I would assume, right?
What's that?
Probably because it was like Thanksgiving weekend, I assume, kind of a big
Yeah.
vacation week for schools.
Mhm. Yeah.
I heard
Lots
you guys also got to go to a Caps game as well. How was that?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that was really cool. It was really fun. I like watching Ovi do his little pregame things on the ice, like during the anthem. He was like dancing around kind of on the blue line, and I was just watching him, and I thought it was so funny, but in my head I'm like, it's probably like a routine for him that he does every single game. I just thought it was funny.
Heard he also like hits other players with the stick like during warmups. I don't know if you were there for that, but that's something I find interesting.
Yeah, I think people have super interesting superstitions and ways they go about preparing for a game. Seems like he's more on like the fun, goofy side of it, which I actually appreciate.
Are you do you do that for warmups? Do you like have any weird superstitions? Or are you more just go out there and just do your thing?
I do have some superstitions like on ice, off ice, not so much. I mean, I have like a routine, but it's not like a very superstitious routine. But on the ice, me and Jess Trokey, I'll just stand on the blue line with the last two on the ice. I shoot, she tips it. I go wait at the door, and she'll come around and then, snow me, and then we get off. We do our little handshake, and then we get off. That's like one thing that I do like every single time.
Are you gonna have to find a new teammate for that next year since she's transferring to Brown?
I think I'm just gonna have to do it myself, just take a shot and wait like a second, act like it's happening, and then get off.
That's good.
I
Or
don't know if
find
I
maybe
can
find a freshman. I don't know. That's my suggestion. That will do it with you.
use the freshman.
Yeah, just ask someone, and they'll do it because it's like, oh, like I have to do it because the juniors telling me to. So
Yeah,
that'll be my suggestion.
get them going with it, like initiate them in a little bit of a routine.
Hmm. Yeah, because I feel like it'll be kind of awkward to have doing it by yourself.
Yeah, it is. I've had to do that before, and I just shoot a puck, and it's just
Mhm.
like okay, but it's definitely more fun when she's involved. I'm gonna miss it.
Now, talk about that win against Duluth. How important was that for your team, beating that top non-conference team? And obviously, they made it all the way to the national championship game. So, really good win for your team. And what you said, that's one that you still think about the most. So, just talk about how much it meant to you.
I think just because there's so much to Duluth, like they're like a legendary team, and just knowing that it was going to be a huge game and that we needed to step up because we haven't played a team, I think like that ever. I haven't, besides OSU, like so up to that point I hadn't. Um, and I think just like the way that we prepared, the way that we prepared our minds, and really got like we are good enough to beat this team. Like we just need to grind. We have the girls, we have the lineup. Like we got this. We just have to be in it. And then it actually happening and us pulling through with that. It wasn't like it was surprising. It was just rewarding to know that like we did that. Like we did what we came to do. Obviously we didn't get the win against OSU, but still played well, still things to tweak. But it was a really cool experience.
I feel like that you can take a lot from that weekend too, because obviously those two teams made it to the national championship game. So, is that something like you're going to be thinking about for next year? Is like we can compete with the top two teams in the country. So, that can definitely be like a learning experience, even though you lost that game against OSU.
Yeah, definitely. Just knowing that it's not like we're just some team in the CHA. Like we're here to compete with the best teams, and we will.
Now, I
So
do want to ask you about another game, and one of my favorite games to watch was your team beating Cornell on the road because I feel like Cornell was a team that people kind of didn't talk enough about, at least in my opinion. So, but talk about that game from your perspective because I thought you played fantastic. Like I called it the Lyndie Lobdell game, 2 assists, just like really played well defensively, shutting down some of Cornell's top offensive threats. From your perspective, what like kind of worked for you in that game, and just talk about how big of a win that was for your team.
I think for me it was just I was like kind of raging going into that game because of what had happened in the game against Cornell at home. So I had a lot going into this game, and for me it was like there's nothing to lose obviously at this point. Like we had a terrible game against them the first time, so we better lay it all out there, and that's exactly what we did. Like we gave it right back to them. For me it was just like finding the girls. They were all like in the right place at the right time always, and it worked out. The second assist that I got was super weird, but it was something that we had figured out before the game, that the boards were like very awkward. They made like huge bounces, and then we caught them off guard on that. So it was a big win. It was like we redeemed ourselves.
I also want to ask you about one of your teammates, Mallory Uline, because I feel like she was one of the most underrated players in college hockey this past year. Like I always said, like I felt like she didn't get enough recognition as she should have for her performance this past season. But I feel like she emerged as one of your team's best players this past season as well. So I have to ask you, what's it like being her teammate, and what have you learned from her, especially since you're also a defender? So I feel like you've probably learned a lot from her just because you also played for Team USA. So I assume like I'm just curious what that relationship is like between you guys, and what makes her such like a special player from your perspective.
I think Mal is extremely composed. Um, we're really close on and off the ice. So I just see her as a person and how it turns like in on the ice. She like works her tail off. She's there for every single person on the team. She's someone that you can rely on. Someone that will be there for you in any moment. And on the ice, it's the same. Like if anyone hits you and she's on the ice, like they're getting it right back. And she just protects the team like nothing else. And the way that she plays, I feel like it was I was really proud to see her just continue to like kill it in the year, just continue to get better and better, and how she supports other people on the ice, like on the bench and everything. It's very encouraging.
And what do we have to do to make her get more recognition? Just because that's one thing that surprised me a lot was like I felt like no one was talking about her. I feel like you have to agree as her teammate as well.
Yeah, definitely. She's a top player for sure on our team. She's a top defenseman. She's a top defenseman in the league, in the country. Like I think that you're right. She is underrated, but I think she's flowing into it more. It sucks to say that you have to get all these points to feel like you deserve the recognition.
Hmm.
I understand it, but I don't necessarily agree with it. And I think that her general style of play without any of those points is exceptional. And I think just as time goes on, like she'll continue to get more and more. She deserves it. So
Just look at like the block shots and the plus and minus. That's I think that for me that's what I think that's the stat. Like I guess I would look more at for a defender, just because I feel like most defensemen like aren't too involved with the offense. Occasionally they have to be, but like I feel like if you're on the ice, you help set up that offensive play. So, but yeah,
mhm.
there's just so much things she has done well with her game, and points wise, like I feel like offensively is when she started to emerge, and that's when I feel like more people will start to notice her. So I hope that happens for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, your goaltender Josie Bethune, she had a great year, broke the program record, I think, for most like wins in program history as a goaltender. What's she like as a teammate? And obviously, she's heading off for Team USA's goalie camp. So I want to ask you about what it's like being her teammate, especially since she's in your class.
Yeah, Josie's great. She has so much heart and so much passion for the game. And she's, I'd say, very intense. And it's really cool to see just how fired up she gets all the time. She's always locked in no matter what. Um, and to see it like paying off for her is really, really great because she works her butt off.
Now, what was like the biggest thing you learned about yourself this year?
I think biggest thing I learned about myself. I think for me, it's that confidence is key when I have that confidence in myself, because like I know that I can do certain things, and when I'm off my game it's because I'm doubting myself or I'm feeling insecure about something. And just keeping my mindset positive and like the self-talk positive, it puts me in a very different position of playing. Like it changes my game completely.
Now, what are your team's goals for next year? I assume I know what it is, but just wanted to ask in case there's anything else your team wants to accomplish next year.
Um, Taking on out of conference games like head on, getting ranked, beating these teams left and right. Like that's the goal, obviously, winning. And then taking it step by step, like with each tournament, each championship. Obviously, the end goal is a national championship, but the stepping stones to get there is what we're focusing on. We don't want to like push ahead past our little goals because the little goals make the big ones.
Now, do you know what your non-conference schedule will look like for next year, or is that still like in the works, I guess?
I think it's still in the works. We have nothing like confirmed at the moment, but it probably will be soon.
Anything like you can share? Because there's some games I assume like potentially Holy Cross just because they played you guys at Penn State this past year. So I'm assuming that's one that could happen, right?
Probably. I'm not sure exactly what it looks like. I'm sure we're gonna get few new teams in there. I haven't really seen anything yet though.
Well, I hopefully you guys come out to the East Coast because I'm looking forward to seeing you play in person. I wasn't able to head up to that Brown game, so I'm hoping like you
Yeah.
guys visit BC or Holy Cross. That's I'm just crossing my fingers on that. So I just wanted to know, just in case if that was like confirmed or not.
Yeah, if I figure it out soon, I'll let you know so we can
Awesome,
lock that
awesome,
down. I can throw you a puck then.
awesome. Yeah, no, I know that was one of our goals. We haven't had the chance to do that. I definitely will be though at one of those games if that happens for sure. So I'll definitely let you know if I do go.
Great.
Now, have you had the chance to meet any of your new players for next year, and what are they? What are you hoping for them to bring to the team? Because I noticed that you're obviously losing a few key players in the transfer portal with Jess Cherokee and Rachel Weiss, and obviously you're losing a few seniors as well, most notably Natalie Heising, one of your top offensive players. So, um, what can I guess Penn State fans expect from this upcoming freshman class if you had the chance to meet them yet or not?
I had a chance to meet all of them. I know some of them from like camps, like USA camps and whatnot. I'm really, really excited about them coming in. It's definitely tough losing all these girls, but that's a part of it, and we're gonna miss them, and we're gonna miss what they brought to the team. But having like a fresh new perspective and style coming in, like we got really, really talented girls, grinders, like all around, and they're all really great people. I'm really excited about Kendall Betsy coming in as a defenseman. She's gonna be. I have high hopes for her. I've seen her play before, and I think she's a really great player. Similar to Carly Garcia in a way, and the rest of them, I guess, I'm just excited for it to build more healthy competition in our team, and I think it'll be huge for us. And
Yeah.
including the fifth years coming in, they're great. I haven't met one of them yet, but they're great people.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be a big part of your team too because you need that experience. I feel like that definitely is a key factor for college hockey teams to have those veterans to lean on that might have not been on your team, but like have that experience of playing college hockey against different competition.
Yeah, definitely.